What is going on, everybody? This is episode 825 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. We were distracted looking at pictures of Christy Gnome's hands. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm surprised that you actually admitted that. Guys.
We were dunking on her hands? Yes. I was dunking on her hands.
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. I'm actually the nice one on this show. Few know this, but...
All I said was that, you know, she's got a face that's kind of stretched in her hands. They look like gnarled trees.
They don't match.
Yeah, they don't match. That's all I'm saying. If they matched, it would be fine.
Two different people. Yeah. So it's Tate Tuesday. We have Tate on today.
It's true. Hello, everyone. My name is Tate. My name is Tate. We're a producer here at Timcast. These are the two nicest. When the cameras are off, they're really, really nice.
We are.
Yeah, it's actually alarming how nice these people are.
And just so you know, it doesn't mean that you have to be here every Tuesday. It's just every Tuesday that you happen to be here, it is Tate Tuesday.
Yeah, that works with me, honestly, because I'm trying to reclaim the name Tate, because the Tate brothers obviously did their thing.
They tarnished it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to like rehabilitate
Reclaim it as a first name, not a last name.
Yeah, yeah. So,
so apparently I did this video earlier about how there's this rumor going around that Superman in the new Superman movie is going to be battling online trolls. And it's got like a hat. Basically, they turn Lex Luthor into a Superman reply guy, and he makes mutant bot farms that dunk on Superman. It makes him really mad, and there's like a Superman sucks hashtag. And supposedly, I don't know if any of this is true.
Isn't that the angle they were taking with the Riddler?
Well, I mean, with She-Hulk, that's what they were doing.
Well, in DC, like that's kind of what they were doing with the Riddler, right? Because his followers are on 4chan.
He was like an incel guy, yeah. So
I really wish the Riddler had Twitter.
I
don't. Awesome.
I don't personally want to watch Superman get into like Twitter spats with people, but apparently that's a rumor that's going to be one of the themes of it. And I'm just picturing.
Twitter is James Gunn's kryptonite.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were saying. It's the biggest self-insert ever, if this is in fact what they do. But we'll have to wait and see whether that's true or not. That video will be out at 8 p.m. tonight. You should watch that, guys. Hit the like button on the video, the live stream, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share this live stream out with everybody that you know. The more people that you share the content with, the more people you share it with, the faster this show can grow. So thank you guys so much for that. So what are we getting into today? Well, it is a bad time to be a touring pop musician, apparently, because both Katy Perry and Beyonce are lacking in the touring department. There's these absolutely insane videos coming out of Katy Perry on tour. She's going through lightsaber battles, and she's being pulled up into the sky. Looks like some kind of a weird Illuminati ritual. And then Beyonce's flying cars around the stadium, because apparently nobody wants to just sit down and watch them actually sing, and attendance is correspondingly low. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about adult film star, I guess, mattress actress Riley Reid. She got her happy ending after all. She's
not the way you think.
Not that happy ending. It's a different happy ending.
Married with a baby and other children.
So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this viral photo before and after that was going around like last weekend on X, showing this guy before and after he went through his gym transformation, and the men and the women were arguing back and forth about which one was better, and we're going to get into the whole thing.
They're arguing about, it's straight men arguing about which one is hotter. Okay,
yeah, that's valid.
No,
that's not a good look.
That's not what they were arguing about. That is disingenuous. They were arguing about.
You're like, no, the guy in the after is like so hot.
That's not what Mary is being disingenuous right now. The men were saying that the women will clearly prefer the after photo, and the women are saying, no, we prefer the before photo, and the guys are being like, yeah, well, you're women, so you're either lying or you don't know what you're talking about.
My circle was just debating who was hotter. That's my circle was purely... Yeah,
I'm just saying that's what I believe.
The discourse was fruity, so
guilty as charged.
We got that. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you're ready, we'll just go ahead and get started. Mary, you're ready.
I think I'm ready.
Tate, you ready?
I was born ready.
Let's start off with let's get the depressing stuff out of the way, shall we?
Yeah. So Andor is a Star Wars series that hasn't been massively popular in the streaming numbers, but it's been one of the less negatively received Disney Star Wars projects in recent years, in the grand scheme of things, up until this point, when the first 3 episodes of its second season premiered last week. And there was a grape scene featured in the show. Something that has never been shown in Star Wars before and probably never should have been. It is now being addressed by the show creator. His name is Tony Gilroy. And he wrote these scenes. This was important to him to include this because it's about reflecting the real world in the world of Star Wars. And also helping the universe of Star Wars mature with its audience. Implying, I guess, that all the previous Star Wars movies and the original trilogy were, like, childish, which doesn't really make sense to me.
No.
But here, let's get into it. The Hollywood Reporter interviewed Tony Gilroy about this. Here is the scene. It's an Imperial officer tries to violently grape a rebel fugitive, Bix Caleen, who is hiding out in a farming settlement while Imperial troops are rounding up undocumented citizens. Okay, so it's not just that we're hitting on the issue of sexual violence, we're also hitting on the issue of undocumented migrants. The sequence plays out over the course of the show's third episode.
And remember, this isn't, as they point out, it's not an actual, it's a failed attempt.
Right, this is, to be clear, an attempt, not
correct.
You actually seeing it go down. It starts with the officer's flirtation with Bix Caleen turning increasingly persistent and eventually accumulating with a brutal life and death struggle. Bix eventually gets the upper hand and the officer is killed, but Andor boldly leaves zero ambiguity as to what viewers just witnessed as Bix screams, "He tried to rape me!"
There's a 20 there.
Let me see.
From
Puchu Sona. Need Tate to lead a pod. His input is always the peak of the episodes.
I think I saw him typing under the table. I think he might have sent that to us.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, what's this?
That's my street name.
The
Yeah,
propaganda.
no, tweet at Tim. Just tweet Tim nonstop.
Like,
and
we
say-
need Tate to lead a show.
So true.
The Star Wars, or they say that Star Wars is a franchise that has never shown even consensual sex. During its first season, Andor pushed the envelope with scenes that suggested sex was about to take place or just had, much like old Hollywood films during the Hays Code censorship era. When asked about the Bix scene, Andor creator Tony Gilroy explained that when telling a story about war, shying away from sexual assault didn't feel truthful. Here's what he said. I get one shot to tell everything I know or can discover that I've learned about revolution, about battles, with as many incidents and many colors as I can get in there without having the story tip over. Let's be honest, man. The history of civilization, there's a huge arterial component of it that's rape. All of us who are here, we're all a product of rape. I mean, armies and power throughout history have committed rape. So to not touch on it in some way, it just was organic and it felt right coming about as a power trip for this guy. I was really trying to make a path for Bix that would ultimately lead to clarity, but a difficult path to get back to clarity.
Here's the thing. The point he's making is accurate about the history of the world and conquering and armies, invading armies. That stuff, accurate, sure. But the funny part about it is like, I can just imagine that this interviewer's eyes lit up when he started saying this because they knew they were going to clip this out.
Yeah.
And there is such a thing as too much truth in an interview for something like this, meaning that what's going to happen is that the headlines will take you out of context, and whether it belongs in Star Wars or not, that's for the Star Wars historians and the people who truly love the property. I find it more interesting that he said this, likely knowing, given that he's been in Hollywood for a while, that this was going to become a topic of great discussion. But headlines aren't a place for nuance. Headlines are a place to ram you over the head with what they're trying to say.
I guess his point was like, we're all technically descended from rapists in some regard, which is technically true.
Again, I don't want to
That doesn't mean we need it in Star Wars.
Right.
Is this the time to like introduce that discussion? Unless you're in a room and you got like 3 hours to kill and you're with people who want to talk about history.
I mean, I've heard a homeless guy make a similar point before, and it's pretty horrifying. So yeah, interview not the place.
He also made it clear in the interview with The Hollywood Reporter that Disney did not push back at all on his idea to include this, even though there are strict guidelines in Star Wars for violence and sexual material.
Yeah.
This didn't cross those boundaries, I guess.
It's because Shannon Sharp wasn't playing the.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was just relieved to see Jar Jar wasn't involved.
Okay, so that's the other thing that people were bringing up was Slave Leia and Jabba the Hutt, and they were trying to correlate these two as the same thing, which is not the same thing.
Right. No. Well, there was not even really the implication that Leia was raped. She was just imprisoned and put in a scantily clad outfit.
If I'm being honest here, like, given the fact that I don't really care about Star Wars, like, this doesn't bother me, but I do understand that one of the things that's been pushed in recent years is to take a property that's done pretty good with the good and evil idea and turn it into shades of gray, which kind of destroys the joy of Star Wars, the psychological certainty of good and evil, and start telling supposedly more complex stories. But as me and you have talked 100 times, it's not necessarily about making it complex. It's about making it morally ambiguous.
I think that what takes the joy out of it is really the impulse to make a fantasy world look like the real world.
Yeah.
Like, why does the Star Wars world need to look like Ukraine? I don't know. Like, why does it need to reflect what a real war zone looks like or anything like that? But I saw that it was mostly negative feedback, understandably, from fans.
Well,
but I wanted to read like the positive response of people who are praising this because it's just so insane. Andor dared to go to the darkest places Star Wars could offer. An Imperial officer abusing his untouchable status to rape an undocumented migrant while his troops are rounding up other undocumented citizens. This is the real world seeping into Star Wars storytelling. This is the world we live in, reflected in the galaxy far, far away.
Nobody wants the world we live in reflected in a galaxy far, far away.
They're saying
Nobody but
this
you.
is a good thing. They're saying this is a good thing.
I know
this
they
is
are.
Star Wars at its most political, its most potent, its most frightening. I must commend the writing team's bravery to not shy away from such topics, to depict fascist regimes as they are. Speak the word rape directly into the camera.
Okay, shut the
Show
fuck up.
just how despicable fascists really are. Andor is as brilliant as it is terrifying.
This is actually what's worse is they're not even being honest. This is actually just a trope in Hollywood. The trope of all bad guys are rapists. It's literally a meme from Honest Trailer or from Everything Wrong With, the video series. It's like, if you really, really want to make a guy look bad, you don't just make him a kidnapper, you don't just make him a murderer, you have to make him a rapist, because that's how you take away any hope of somebody being redeemed, right? So worse than being political is being boring.
That's how you make people hate Biff in Back to the Future. Because otherwise I would have thought Biff was the cool one.
Yeah.
This other tweet said, an extremely difficult scene to watch, but one that deepens the villainy of the Empire and has a disturbing relevance to a real, serious world issue. The team deserves praise for their bravery in including such a difficult topic in a big franchise like Star Wars.
I like how that person's like, this is where the Empire drew the line. They literally blew up a planet. That's as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
And they're like, finally, someone showing the evil of the Empire.
I don't think that Darth Vader would approve of this.
That's what Star Wars Theory said. Star Wars Theory made that exact point. He said, SA in Star Wars feels unnecessary. You can portray power dynamics and making the audience hate the Empire in other ways without taking it to such a disgusting place. Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. It has no place in Star Wars, period. Unnecessary.
So true.
The same showrunner also said that he included references to the Nazi Third Reich in the premiere episode of this season. I won't even get into his explanation of why he did that. It doesn't matter. But he felt like it was important to intertwine Star Wars with his knowledge of world history.
And we'll give him credit for this, which is that people from season 1 really, really liked his take on Star Wars, but they said it's the least like Star Wars out of anything that's been made, which tells me that they just happen to be Star Wars fans reacting to good television, not Star Wars fans reacting to good Star Wars necessarily. That out of all the new things that Disney has made, this is the most successful amongst like actual old school Star Wars fans, but not necessarily successful on the grand sense because the ratings weren't super good.
They're trying to make Star Wars into prestige TV, and it's like not landing once the showrunner kind of gets a big ego about it.
I don't know if that's what it is, or if it's that, like, look, he took his art one place in season 1, and in season 2 he went here, and it just so happens that this happens to be where the line is for some people, and for others it's not. But I don't think it actually ends up mattering because it's not doing well ratings wise anyways. The people that like it are going to continue to like it. The people that don't like this scene will likely continue watching to see if it gets worse. And sans any more incidents, it will continue to have its mediocre ratings.
This feels like ancient history now, but I remember when we reviewed the first season of Kenobi on this channel.
Like a lifetime ago.
Was that 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago. And everyone hated it, predictably so. And they have just interviewed the girl who plays young Leia in the show, who is now 12 years old. She says that we need to make Star Wars less male-centric.
12-year-olds don't say things like male-centric.
When I heard that,
ever.
I'm not even trying to bully like this 12-year-old for her opinion.
You have to bully your parents.
I think her parents need to be bullied because they're clearly brainwashing her, and they should not be allowing her to speak like this publicly. But she said this in an interview with Collider recently about the possibility of playing Leia as a teenager. I've said it in a few interviews, and I've had some people be like, no, we don't need it. Yes, we do. We need less male-centric Star Wars. We need more women because we need a strong female Star Wars universe. I love that, so I think it could be really fun. I really enjoyed how they did Skeleton Crew of like a Goonies, Stranger Things-esque show for teens centered around Star Wars. And something she's saying with Leia, something almost like the summer I turned pretty. Oh, this poor girl. I think it would be difficult to execute the proper writing, but it could be really fun to do something like that and bring in more of that type of audience. And teenage girls.
The problem is that as Chris Gore and the dudes over at Film Threat have said, there's been no more costly business decision than trying to take a male brand like Star Wars and make it a female brand. I'm just waiting for the day. The meme
waiting
is,
for Star Wars,
meme is
the
always,
kissing booth.
The meme is always like, dudes, if dudes want to beat this, what they need to start doing is they need to be like, I've always wanted to make a Hallmark movie, and then put like big titty women and lasers in Hallmark movies and be like, it's been my dream since I was a kid to make a Hallmark movie. And then you just make it as male as possible. Yeah. But that's not going to happen.
It'd be the ultimate revenge. We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. I'm a fan of Star Wars and Gilroy's work, the Bourne movies, Star Wars Rogue One, and given what I've read, I'm going to wait to pass judgment on Andor until the final episode. That's fair.
Yep.
Don't let the rage bait work on you.
You think there's an element here where it's millennials that are trying to justify being into movie or media that's for children? And they're like, well, let's mature it up so we can justify watching children's shows.
No, because the argument then that they always make when you take it too seriously is they say this is for kids. And then, no, I don't believe that.
Okay, but like Star Wars was never like seen as being for kids, right? It was kind of just for all ages.
Yeah, but
Am
it's
I wrong?
like they sell the toys and their main audience for 50 years was children.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it since I was 12.
Like the dinks who are going to
nothing is really meant like outside
Disney
of
parks and like playing with lightsabers, they're like engaging in some kind of arrested development there.
And like the prequels were clearly targeted to children.
Yeah, for sure.
Outside of like animated movies, and I'm not talking like the Inside Outs, which have themes that are for adults as well. Like most things today aren't really made for kids. They're made for like permanent kids, for adults that are permanently children. And that's look, that's not even to the discredit of those people. It's to say that the media is trying to find this magic formula on what to make for people, as people are in a state of arrested development. But Andor was never made for kids.
Well, I guess I'm just seeing it because it's a Disney show, and you always see with the Disney stars, they're like trying to prove that they're adults now, and I'm wondering if this is the manifestation into movies and media now.
That's like Disney Channel stuff. That's a completely different thing. Like, this is a brand unto itself, like Marvel, like Pixar.
Yeah.
So it's not really the same thing.
I don't know. They had this. I think that Disney executives had this notion that they would like make Star Wars more like highfalutin and more like artsy and pretentious than it ever was, because it was for mass appeal before. There's nothing wrong with that.
That might be the better question here, is like, what happened to mass appeal? Like, somehow while trying to make a story for everyone, they no longer capable of doing that.
And they're like siloing these different audiences, where like one of the shows has Lizzo in it and one of them has rape in it, and like I don't know what to think anymore. Like, what tone are we trying to strike?
Yeah, like when you look at this stuff, it's not like when you watch these movies or these shows, you imagine it was made for one specific audience. I don't know who it was made for.
For Andor specifically?
Any of it. I don't know who it was made for anymore. So I don't know. All right, we got more to get into today.
Yes. Former NFL coach Bill Belichick is just shy of 50 years senior to his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. He is 73 and she is 24. However, that is not the main issue people are taking with their relationship, which is now in the public eye. It actually has snowballed into suspicions that they originally met in an escort situation, a paid service from Jordan Hudson. And we're going to get into some of the evidence for that, but first and foremost, he did an interview on TV, not about their relationship, but about his upcoming book called The Art of Winning, which is just kind of a funny name for a book written by a guy who just can't stop taking L's.
He's got decades of W's before this. They haven't been canceled out yet.
I don't know. He's turning into a laughingstock because in the middle of this interview, basically they're asked how they met as a couple, and Jordan Hudson storms into frame and shuts it down.
Here we go.
Make sure that's the...
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world.
Okay.
What?
You can't see it in the shot. I'll make it mean. Like, why is he wearing a sweatshirt with like a hole directly in the...
He's always
maybe Jordan told him that was a trend.
Relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on, though Hudson has recently posted about it on Instagram.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordan, where you're a fisherman and she's a mermaid. It's charming. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos. There's another one where you're doing, I know you're not into meditation or yoga or Pilates. You're balancing Jordan on your feet, and she's doing kind of the Titanic pose.
Yeah, so I'm on some of those social media platforms, but I honestly don't follow them.
What he does follow isn't clicks or views, but touchdowns and, above all, wins.
You do seem like you're having a lot more fun these days than you were in other chapters of your life, let's say.
I enjoy football. I enjoy the whole process of it. It's hard to win, and it's hard to beat other good coaches, good teams.
So what it feels like he was trying to do was reframe the discussion around the book.
But really badly.
But he comes off
he needed
lost.
way more media training to make that inconspicuous, because it clearly looks like Blink if you need help.
The top
dude.
question, the top post, it says Hudson appears to be Belichick's handler. Oftentimes, there's a manager that dictates what he's asked.
Okay, we have
what
a
he's asked and
20.
answered.
The Last of My Kind said SA wouldn't happen canonically because the Empire, while evil, are highly disciplined. Look at the
Yep.
TIE fighter pilots. They're fearless due to high standards. Han Solo being undisciplined got him kicked out of the fleet.
Everyone that I saw posting about it said, yeah, that due to regimented discipline, Vader would never allow somebody to be overcome and give in to their,
Base passions.
Yeah.
Well, furthermore, TMZ has sources. They say outside of just that moment in the final cut of the interview where she stops him from answering how they met, there were numerous other instances where Jordan Hudson butts in. Even when he's answering questions about football, she would stop and correct him. Sources say that Bill Belichick only arrived with her, no other handlers, no one from his publishing company.
It's giving Harley Pasternak.
Oh, yeah. And at one point in the Q&A, Jordan Hudson got so heated that she stood up and stormed out and wanted Bill Belichick to follow her. It's unclear if he agreed, but the blow-up delayed the whole interview for about a half an hour. And once things calmed down, the interviewer, who was spooked by the encounter, elected to wrap things up quickly and end the experience. So that was a total dumpster fire for his public image.
Yep.
And clearly he was trying to steer it away from the personal, and it just came off as extremely awkward and suspicious.
Well, Dave
and
Portnoy.
secretive.
So Dave Portnoy was like saying that he's like, where did you get these photos? Like, he just doesn't understand how social media works, and he's just kind of detached. And it seems he
calls
probably
it Instaface.
she probably runs his Instagram anyways.
He has an Instagram?
Yeah.
I thought it was just her.
No, he has his own.
Okay, so
Like, he commented on hers.
so he's like doesn't know that people can see this stuff? Is that how
That's
old
what
he
it's.
is?
Probably,
That's
yeah.
what. Yeah, I mean, he's old.
I mean, that's why it had a Chris Hansen feel to it, because he was like, where did you get this? That's not me.
You mean this professional photo shoot where she's in a costume ended up somewhere?
The picture that they were showing of like the yoga pose, did you see what she captioned that photo?
What did she say?
Bill Lottie's. It was so cold.
Oh
I was
my
like, I'm using
gosh.
that. My name's not even Bill, but it'll work.
So the official story for how they met is that they randomly were sat next to each other on a plane when she was still a college student. And that was back in 2021. So she was about 20 years old? I don't know.
Let's round up.
She was like
and say
21. I don't
20.
know. She was a college student, and she had this logic textbook that she had him autograph on the plane. And then they were first seen together publicly over 2 years later. And then they confirmed their relationship in summer last year.
Here is the logic textbook.
That's the origin story that they want you to believe.
She
This is what people
reposted
that meet
it.
online, this is the story they would come up with. Oh, yeah, we met on a plane, actually. He signed
Well,
a
Isn't he in PJs or like at least in first class? What was a random college student doing in first class?
Well, that was the first thing I thought about. I was like
Escort.
He makes that like so people are so the discourse that's going on is people are saying that she was likely an escort.
Yes.
We can't confirm
No,
that. We don't know.
He's
but the
not
point
flying
is,
coach.
The point is that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, so is she like she's according to her Instagram, she's the daughter of a Maine fisherman.
Yes.
So I'm assuming middle class. I doubt Bill Belichick doesn't spring for the extra leg room. Right? So,
She just happened to be in first class.
You know what it was? Somebody probably got bumped, and they gave her an upgrade.
Yeah, or maybe she has her Navy sweatshirt on, so maybe like they're like, oh, this is a veteran. You can sit in my seat. That's probably what's going on.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Sure. So we're supposed to believe that happened. And there's more evidence to suggest that there was something untoward about their first encounter, that possibly Bill Belichick was actually hiring her, that he was a client of hers. Here are some of the reasons people are suspecting this. First of all, given his age, he's the main clientele for sex workers. And then, of course, shutting down the question of how they met. He was also friends with Robert Kraft, a businessman who's 10 years older than him. And Robert Kraft has previously gotten in trouble publicly for paying massage services for sex work. They were close. Who knows what they were doing together? They don't engage with each other publicly anymore as friends, and he also was not, Robert Kraft was not mentioned in Bill Belichick's book. So this person says, I assume they used to go to town together on these things and something went wrong. Then there's also the question of why so many sex workers follow Jordan Hudson on Instagram. They say either because Jordan Hudson is an icon to them or they know her personally. Bill also calls Jordan his creative muse, which some say is common language sex workers tell their loved ones to call their partners. And posting photos like the one of her food and Bill Belichick in the background on Instagram. The person is not aware of the photo being taken and a fancy meal. This is sex worker photography 101.
Okay, first of all, a football coach saying a woman's his muse is crazy. Like, he's setting up a defensive scheme, and he's like, this 4-3 nickel reminded me of you.
They call each other their twin flames, which I hate.
Nice. That's nice.
That's like that's modern day lingo for soulmate, you said?
Yeah, like MGK and Megan Fox are constantly talking about how they're twin flames.
That's a Burger King menu item.
I guess if he's running, if he's coming up with new defensive, like.
It's like the safety rushing. I only thought of that of you. Wow. I'm so glad I have you in my life.
It's like ever since I met you, I always go for two. I always go for the 2-point conversion now. Like life's too short.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like actually she's the one pulling the strings in his public image, and she's curating everything and exercising a lot of control over who he presents himself to be. She has also posted, as of 3 hours ago, a screenshot of an email that Bill wrote regarding the interviews that he's doing to promote his book and how he's not satisfied with the way things are going. He said, this is about what I expected from the media. We went through how important it was for me to put, quote, I effed up in the book. And of course, that's the feature of the article, which is mostly about admitting mistakes. I am fine with putting mistakes in the book, but I'm certainly not surprised that of the 260 plus pages, that is what they would highlight. And of course, the I effed up is the clickbait they used for the story. We'll see what the title of the article is, which I noticed has been conveniently left out. Do we have approval on that? I would approve this article if we can also approve the headline, which is actually more important than the article. So he's telling this to his team, which also includes Jordan.
Well, she's on his special teams.
Dude,
she's on his team.
Bill has no idea what's going on.
But here's the thing.
And she says a full statement is going to be released later today.
I'm getting Anna Nicole vibes. And look.
Wait, why do you say that?
I'm just like, in the early 2000s, there was this trend of like glorifying the older man who just enters into a relationship with a much younger woman because it's frivolous and it's completely based around physicality and it has nothing to do with emotionally connecting with them.
Was that Anna Nicole Smith's situation?
I mean, I'm just kind of thinking in those lines, right? Like with the old guy and the young woman, right? And it's not about, it would be funnier if they didn't pretend like they were in love. He's just like, look, she's young and I'm old and have money. And that's fine. There was a time when that was celebrated in this country, like in the early 2000s, like the height of like we're the sexual revolution, and then we're to the 90s and the 2000s. Things are very different now. We're in a hold, please.
Thank you.
As degenerate as our culture is, we're also weirdly more moralistic because we talk about power structures.
Yes. So. The ironic thing about their relationship dynamic is that he's been roasted so much for the age gap between them and the supposed power imbalance between them based on that and their wealth gap. But the ironic thing is, most of the time in these situations, in these arrangements, if you'll call them that, the girl, the young woman who is engaging in this is actually the one with the upper hand. She's actually not the less powerful one most of the time. And we can tell because she sunk her claws into Bill Belichick so deeply. He's like completely brainwashed. He's like under a spell.
There was like an episode of the show Las Vegas where this old like casino titan, or this guy who went to jail gets out of jail. He's got all this money and there's like this 25 to 30-year-old lawyer that he's dating. And Ed goes like, he goes, you know, she's taking you for a ride, right? And he basically says like, what she doesn't know is she's not in my will, and like it's all going to charity. And he's like, she'll get what she gets, but she's gonna earn it every step of the way. Like that was something that was not frowned upon in like the mid 2000s, something like that. Now they would talk about power structures and power dynamics and imbalances. So in a weirdly more degenerate culture, it's also more moralistic as they kind of shrink women's agency.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen many people portraying her as a victim in any way. No. They just think that this is kind of a glorified sex worker arrangement if it's not one that started out as straightforwardly an old guy paying for sex. Yeah. Like
I said, it would oddly enough be more endearing if he was like, look, we have a lot of fun, and that's all it is.
Yeah, he could just answer it that way, and then no one would be
I don't
suspicious.
need to hear about how the 24-year-old is the 73-year-old's twin flame.
Yeah, because like people are right to be like, what do they even talk about?
You can't be twins. You're too far apart in age.
No.
All I know is next season of Andor is going to be fire with this storyline.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The power imbalances.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say, what would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Tate, you decide.
Cringe. Gotta be cringe.
Cringe first?
This one's pretty bad.
That bad?
I know you don't like cringe musical performances. So.
Is it live?
No, actually.
Okay, then I don't care. Like,
right.
I just hate it when people F up live. Then I get the secondhand.
Well, it's live stream.
That's not the same thing. Here we go.
Pretty much didn't tell my insanity. And
What did he say?
You'll find out.
if, yeah, this is just gonna show who I really am when I'm not Caleb on TikTok. About to say a couple things. Might have you not know that I'm kind of insane. It's alright, I'll say that I'm fine. Smile inside, it's alright. Yeah, these walls are red, just like the paint in my walls. I don't know what to think, and I always fucking fall. Yeah, I always see red, it's what I always see. Probably because every time I blink, I always bleed. Everyone knows that I have my smiles. Everyone knows that I'm always cheery, and I'm happy to smile. Even though that it's all fucking fake. If you think about it, I'm never fucking late. If I slit my throat, maybe open up my wounds, maybe people will say who...
Dude, when are you playing the cringe? Because that was fire. That was aura, epitomized aura.
It's literally the Jay-Z gif of...
That was sick. Yeah. That was sick. I thought that was supposed to be cringe.
Why does it go hard, though? Like,
dude, yeah.
Like...
That's
all right,
aura.
I don't know. I guess I was wrong.
Dude, we want more goat.
New Crisis Party song incoming.
All right, Caleb from TikTok.
Dude, Caleb from TikTok's up next.
Well, the whole chat is like, this goes. The beat is fuego.
Yeah. Is that supposed to be cringe? I mean, that was
Luke says massive L. I don't know, man. Like, nobody else agrees with you.
Luke doesn't understand greatness.
The beat will probably get us demonetized.
I hope not.
Yeah, that's what song is it? It's a TikTok song.
It's I forget the name. It is a popular song.
Yeah.
All right.
Cute.
Yes.
Aww.
From Average Joe. Here's my dog, Princess. She definitely fits her name.
Let's go.
Her name is Princess.
Very cute.
Got to be careful. All right. I say that because I see the tag is out. You can't dox yourself with dog tags.
Dox the dog?
Can't dox.
It's like, yeah, she lives in a kennel. Like,
dude.
hey.
Well, no, because it puts
her.
the owner's phone number on there, in case the dog gets lost.
Right.
They blanked it out. All right. Remember, guys, you can submit your pets because everybody likes to brag about their pets. Tag me on X, hashtag PCC Pets, and we will get them in the queue. Let's go.
Katy Perry's relevance in the pop music world was already waning, and she was hoping that her upcoming tour, Lifetimes, was a comeback for her, much like the Eras tour was for Taylor Swift. And since the Blue Origin launch, which was a PR disaster for everyone involved, it's now being blamed for abysmal ticket sales. She is having to cancel some of her tour dates, and there are tons of empty seats still. They say she's already struggling to sell tickets for her U.S. dates, which begin in Houston, Texas in 2 weeks, in the wake of backlash from her space flight and poor reception of her latest album. Several US shows have low attendance, and 2 Mexico tour dates have already been canceled so far. But more than anything, I think she's getting roasted because of the absolutely cringe choreography.
These videos are crazy, bro.
I think that
okay,
she's not gonna lean on the songs being good or people actually caring about her anymore. She's resorted to theatrics to keep people interested, and it's not working. So
my fear here is that, like, it's literally so bad where sometimes when you watch a clip, you realize that you're picking up in the middle of something and there isn't context and there isn't, like, the beginning to get you going into whatever you're watching, right? Sometimes you get dropped in cold to something. Mm-hmm. It's like when you watch like one of the most popular things on YouTube is people like clip scenes out of context from TV shows and add background music, and they can completely change the context of a scene. That feels like, am I missing something here? Because there's no way it's this bad.
That's not what's happening.
Let's watch this clip here. And you guys tell me, would you pay hundreds of dollars to see this?
Maybe even thousands.
Yeah.
It sounds like
what
there
is
are, like,
her
12
hair?
people in the audience.
Why does she have like a windowsill haircut?
Yeah.
Are we even trying? The crocodile. Okay, we're kind of like rocking a baby.
Oh, wow.
Then we're like shaking our tush.
She looks like she'd rather be anywhere in the world. She's like, you know what the problem is? She went to space and now everything's boring.
Might be.
She's like,
nothing
man,
will compare.
She's like, I used to like it when people would like cheer for me. Now I want to be up with Jeff Bezos' robo sex bot like wife.
It gets worse. It gets worse.
Whoa!
Dead drop. They were just spread eagle. She's staring at the audience through her legs.
No.
Let's go. Let's go.
I feel like she's been MK Ultra'd and like they just dropped her into this.
There's not a lot of singing happening. No, she's just walking. There wasn't even a strut, really.
That was like VBS choreography. That's exactly what that was.
There's another clip of her choreography for her song E.T., which is culturally
this one is so much
relevant
worse.
again, where she's in the middle of having a lightsaber fight with a bunch of aliens and flying in the sky. Stepping on her dancers. She's on a wire here.
I tweeted earlier, like megachurch pastors are getting ideas
Literally
right
taking
now.
notes.
They are
taking
getting
notes.
ideas.
Oh my God.
And then there's this giant worm that she's fighting.
You know what it is? She watched Dune just before she went out there.
This is Dune on a budget.
So it's Dune, it's Star Wars, and then what are the Robo Cone titties? I don't know what that is, but
yeah.
It's the hair. It's the hair. The hair is so
rough.
bad.
It's rough.
Nice shoulder pads.
She looks really uncomfortable. Yeah, she looks like one of the Road Warriors.
Mad Max.
She needs to hire the John Wick guys.
I just imagine how must the backup dancers feel that this is their career. Like,
yeah, I mean, you know, like when you're doing what you love, you get paid to do it. So I'm sure they're like,
they must know this is bad though. Like, who planned this? You know, like everyone talks about how like we don't have gays with clipboards anymore.
It's true.
So we're like, making sure everything is on point.
I feel like we've like progressed in the entertainment industry where they should be able to make those wires look invisible.
Yeah, what's going on? It's
right?
so obvious.
Maybe like from like professional angles, like filmed a different way.
Maybe in person it's not as visible. I don't know.
Well, it definitely wouldn't be as visible in person. Like, why couldn't she like Kanye could have done so? Like,
Yeah, well, I think she's actually re-recording a new version of E.T. that doesn't have Kanye's verse on it because of the state of his reputation.
I mean, that could be him in that black outfit right there.
Right, it represents.
Like, what happens if like one of the lightsaber lights goes out, like the snap lights goes out, then she's just impotent?
Yeah. Here were some of the comments. When I have kids, I'm telling them this was Star Wars. I didn't even go and I want a refund. Still better than the Acolyte.
Like, but here's the thing.
Love how
like,
she kicked that one dude in the head. I didn't even catch
I guess
that.
for her it makes a little bit more sense, but like she could just like sing, you know?
Yeah.
She's a great singer.
Just get some backup dancers and just sing.
Yeah.
She'd be fun.
Yeah, and
like, know who's pissed now is Justin Bieber's like, am I gonna have to do this shit when I go back out on tour? Am I gonna have to fly on the high wire and reenact scenes from Dune?
Yeah, I think she calling it the Lifetimes tour was obviously hoping it would turn into the Eras tour.
Well, and that's the thing,
2.0.
like, so maybe the problem here is that like Taylor Swift has raised the bar as far as like the type of show she puts on, meaning that it's like 4 hours long. There's a bunch of set pieces going
Little
on,
moments that are like curated for each one.
Yeah,
and she's playing all the hits.
And Katy Perry's like, I got Aliens and High Wire.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's also this video
like,
of,
you know what needs to happen? You know what needs to happen in this? You know who's back making music again? It's Will Smith. He needs to show up as his character from Independence Day and start like shooting the aliens.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think he might be out of her budget,
Probably.
to be honest.
Also, Katy Perry's 40, so she might just have a bad back. That's why she
Yeah, I mean, people were no, like when Britney Spears was still doing her Vegas residency, people were noticing that like she just didn't seem to have the ability to dance like she used to, and was very like stiff. And
It's time to go to the casinos, Katy.
it reminds me of
No, seriously, get a residency in Vegas.
like Jennifer Lopez at her concerts. She has this like cane that she uses. She has
Just
this
like a walk with a tennis ball.
yeah.
I can't stop. She doesn't run. She kind of
She's like
saunters.
jogging.
So one of my favorite things is like, as much as I loved Stone Cold Steve Austin growing up wrestling, watching him try to run to the ring with his knee braces on, he'd be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like
that's what she's doing.
Jennifer Lopez uses this cane as like it's a prop, but she's like twisting around, but it seems like she actually needs the cane at this point. And it reminds me of also this clip of one of these
kick a dude in the
yeah,
back
like
of
this
the
guy
head.
has a concussion now.
Oh no.
But like there's this clip of Pink where she's like performing one of her songs, and then
You
they
didn't
like
send it to me. I don't know.
I couldn't find it. They like launch Pink up into the air like 100 feet, and then everyone's like, "There's no Pink song that justifies this."
They do this. There's the same one of that of like Dave Matthews, like looks like he's having a seizure on stage like this, and there's like there's no Dave
There's
Matthews
just
song
a
in
still
that
of Ed Sheeran.
catalog.
There's like, and there's like, bro, you don't have
Yeah.
a single song where you need to be doing all that.
Yeah. So it's not looking good for Katy Perry's career, and it doesn't look good for Beyonce either. Beyonce has also just kicked off a new tour, her Cowboy Carter tour, and no one is interested in attending her concerts. Even though she is propped up to be this major star, it doesn't seem like it's really showing in the ticket sales. At her first tour date at LA's SoFi Stadium, there were still over 3,800 tickets still available, with tons of empty seats still.
It says
resale
29
prices.
of her 32 shows are not sold out.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah. Resale prices have dropped down to $20 per ticket. That's insane. Like,
She's saddling up for tour, says
Hey.
TMZ. Hey!
like she was given all these awards and like praised for trailblazing as like a black female country star, which is a joke because this wasn't a country album.
Post Malone's like should have gotten in there 2 years earlier, like me.
Yeah.
It just means like country fans weren't interested in Beyonce's country album, and Beyonce fans weren't interested in her country album.
So that's what I was saying about Hollywood. Is like when you try to make something for everybody, you end up making something for nobody.
The tour is set to start with 0 sold-out shows in the US and the UK. Her core markets, this is the first time in history that a main pop act starts a stadium tour with 29 out of 32 unsold shows. She is also resorting to similar theatrics at her concerts with...
Before that, I want to show this picture because people were bringing this up. So this is a picture from the tour, and what they were doing is they're pointing out these tarped areas. But it is fair to point out, guys, that at least from this photo, those tarped areas look to be behind the main soundboard. So I don't know if the point of that is to say that there's no point in putting people in these seats because they won't be privy to what's actually going on.
Oh, that's not true. Because the way that the Eras tour was set up, it was the same way in all of those arenas, where you could buy $1,000 tickets to not see any of it because you're behind the stage. Like, it was set up the same way. So I think it's just because she can't sell the tickets.
So here's some other... The crazy other thing is like this was from the Beyonce Updates account. And if your own Stan account is calling you out, then you're in trouble. This one says...
looks like all the single ladies are staying home.
They're showing empty seats here and empty seats up here. WWE used to do this as well, where like suddenly like they would just light it differently so you couldn't see the top row if nobody was showing up.
And then you see Beyonce flying in the air on a prop car through the stadium.
You guys are gonna love this. Again,
16 carriages.
Again, Joel Osteen is like,
what is this? Okay. Like, keep it simple, stupid.
I mean,
we don't need all of this.
I mean, where is the steering wheel? That's what I want to know. This car is clearly not street legal. Also, like, I understand that all of Hollywood and entertainment is a scam in that they very rarely have any beliefs at all. But there's something even more dastardly about the American flag these days. The way they lean into it because they're, like... focus groups told them to start trying to pretend like Middle America is a thing again.
Well, she did the same thing on her album cover too, with like the torn apart American flag, and she's like on this horse. But I think it was more of a swipe at country fans in general.
There is no Beyonce song. There is no Beyonce song that justifies this.
Well, I mean, maybe there are, but not on this album.
No. There is no Beyonce.
She had good songs.
What song justifies a flying car?
Okay,
it better
maybe
be
not.
Unless it's on the Jetsons soundtrack. I don't want to hear it.
Right. We have a 20 from Christmas loving engineer, pop artist, astronaut, con artist of the elderly. What can't Katy Perry do?
That's true. I forgot about that story.
Yeah, she basically started suing a bunch of elderly people so that she could like buy their properties, including a convent of elderly nuns, one of whom actually died during one of the court dates because it was too stressful for her.
What if she had like elderly nuns as backup dancers? Like put them in like those realistic masks?
Might be an option, yeah.
Well, you just told me like off air about the fact that Katy Perry used to be a Christian artist, and a lot of people don't know that was her roots.
That's what I'm saying. Those dances remind me of VBS. I think that's where she picked it up from.
Yeah, I went to VBS.
Yeah,
too.
I was a VBS stan.
Those songs were amazing.
And that justifies that kind of energy.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she then pivots. Like
she
if
goes
Katy
back
Perry?
to Christian music.
Goes back to
ignore all the demonic stuff. I'm back.
Yeah.
Like we've got Lana Del Rey talking about kissing Morgan Wallen in a song.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
But she said that
now
it got to his head.
The new Instagram meta is talking about getting cheated on at Stagecoach, which is basically just whore country Coachella.
Yeah.
No, the whole aesthetic from like the coastals is now like glamorizing Middle America.
Yeah.
Like, you see on Instagram all the time where they're like scenes from Appalachia, and they're going there and they're treating it like it's a theme park. And I'm like, this is where people live. It's just, I don't know, it feels gross and patronizing.
Lana Del Rey did it first.
Well, the Waffle House, I was okay with that.
I mean,
I loved that.
Even that, I was like, like she kind of gets away with it in the way that Trump can do anything, and like it's mimetic and it works.
If anyone else did the Waffle House thing, I'd be angry.
If Beyonce went and started serving at a freaking Waffle House, it would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
In the same way that I say that JD Vance doesn't have that capability because he tried to buy donuts once and it was an absolute train wreck.
Yeah.
Like
he goes into Waffle House and he tells the waitress, "Oh,
whatever's good,
whatever makes sense."
We have like 5 items.
But I'm gonna need Beyonce to maybe. Okay, so if Katy Perry can pivot to Christian music, then Beyonce needs to go back out on tour with Destiny's Child.
That would probably do better than this.
Bring back Destiny's Child.
That would actually unironically sell better than a Beyonce country album tour.
They can start, and you know what? The song Bills, Bills, Bills hits harder now because nobody can actually afford their bills.
Mm-hmm.
So if she goes and they start performing that song.
She's also trotting out her children on stage quite often. She's involving Blue Ivy in her performances and her younger kid, who I didn't even know about. Rumi is the name of her youngest. She had her child like propped up in one of these choreographies for everybody. It's very weird.
Do female groups, maybe Phil would know this, there are male super groups, right? Like multiple bands come together to make a super group. Are there like female super groups? Could we get like TLC, well, not all of TLC, Destiny's Child, TLC, and Salt and Peppa to form a super group and go out on
and the
tour
Pussycat Dolls.
And honestly, yes. In fact, I'll
actually,
rectify
Nicole
that.
Scherzinger was featured on the Time 100 this year
For something other than music, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess
she,
so.
Runs a business, I'm sure. She seems like she'd sell makeup.
I don't know what she's doing these days, but she was always the star of the group.
Is there? Does anybody know? Are there female supergroups? Because I'm thinking they could get a. Oh yeah.
But then you see these videos of like NSYNC getting back together and performing again, and they just look kind of pathetic.
The boy bands, it's particularly hard when
you can't compete with BTS.
It's not just about that. It's like, so the thing is like when an actor starts young and they continue to act, you see them incrementally change.
Mm-hmm.
So for most people, they watched NSYNC and Justin Timberlake continued to perform, sure, but nobody else paid attention to the other members of the band. So when they come back and they look like the guy you'd see at your local sports bar on a Saturday night, like the mystique is gone.
You're right.
I'm waiting till they hit the Frankie Valli territory, though. Like, you see the video of Frankie Valli. Yeah. When Justin Timberlake trots out like that, that's going to be nuts.
I think this also points to a larger problem that Phil could probably shed more light on if he were here, which is that it's just getting difficult to sell tours in general for all artists.
Life's expensive. People are like, look, I could go, I could have my Netflix and my $50 food that I financed through Klarna, or I can go to see Katy Perry and make zero memories as she kicks a backup dancer in the back of the head.
Right.
You don't have the cross-generational artists anymore. Like, if you go to a wedding, it's been the same songs for 20 years.
Okay, so actually I have insight on that recently because we were like starting to make
But you were keeping your wedding playlist like close to the chest.
Yeah, well, okay, so the thing is like I would rather have music that I like at the wedding, but that's not the point. The point is to have music like, if the point is I play all the obscure shit I listen to, everyone's like, even if it's upbeat, people
you have to play Company by Justin Bieber, please.
I'll have to. Well, I'll
add that. Write that down. Write that down.
Olivia, are you watching? Can we play Company by Justin Bieber? The point is like you play the classics because everybody knows the classics.
But the classics haven't. It's like Christmas. So they haven't changed in 20 years. Maybe you get 1 or 2 new ones, but
that's what it is.
Uptown Funk was the last entry to the wedding playlist.
All right, let's move on. Some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Taco Tuesday, Brett and Mary. At home sick with a fever, need a dose of PCC. Also, if anyone sees who smacked me in the face with a toaster, let me know. We shall have a word, maybe even fisticuffs." What is this about you getting smacked in the face with a toaster? Am I missing something?
I don't know.
I think that's why he's homesick.
I hope you recover soon, Shane. Dull and Tired said, "What up, fruitcakes?" Nothing much.
Nada.
Ulvin McGoth said, "I'm back from being sick. The nutritious nourishment of pierogies helped me."
That's disgusting.
It's
and wrong.
well-known at-home remedy,
Heavenly manna.
pierogies.
Like, ooh, actually, that's one of those things that would be in like a romantic comedy of some sort, where some like it's a couple and one of them's sick for the first time. Like, could you go get me pierogies? Like, what the?
That's
Like, my mom always made me pierogies when I was
It's
sick.
a Polish at-home remedy. Brian Bledsoe said, "Butter's in the house."
Let's go.
All right, let's
What
do
does that mean?
one more. He looks like Butters.
They said my name's Butters now.
They think that? Oh, I didn't pick up on
I'll
it.
take it.
Let's do one more.
Sarenko Productions said the grape scene wasn't graphic at all. I had more problem with the on-the-nose illegal immigration allegory. Mon Mothma was the only part I liked. I didn't watch it, and I'm not going to, so I don't know the context. But yeah, I know there's no like, he wasn't like naked or anything. It's just the theme of it doesn't have a place.
For instance,
in the story.
one of my favorite movies is V for Vendetta. And that's actually a part of the scene at the beginning when Natalie Portman's when Evie is walking down the street to go meet, what's his name? Stephen Fry's character, I always forget it. And then the fingermen stop her, and they're like, "You're out past curfew." Zip. It's of course, right? And then V comes in and just murks the two dudes. But the point is they're bad guys. They're fascist bad guys. Because in that movie, it's like a fascist Christian government. So of course they're evil. But in 2006, that hit a lot differently than what it would be like now. Because right now, you'd be like, you could just picture the writer like looking really self-satisfied as they're writing it out.
And he is, clearly,
All right.
in that interview.
All right, let's move on.
Riley Reid, of course, is mostly known for her career in adult entertainment, but her public image has taken a turn in recent years. She has gotten married and started a family and also adopted children into her home. But some people don't like to see her winning, if that's even what you want to call it. Some people think that this is a representation of redemption for someone who was going down the wrong path and then changed their ways. That unfortunately is not true, because Riley Reid is still active in the corn industry and actively on OnlyFans, but she wants to kind of blend these images together where she's a mom and a wife, but also a corn star. And this recently went viral, a tweet saying, "Buddy really wifed up the most famous corn star of all time. What a pathetic excuse for a man." Can you pull that up? The picture of her with her husband?
Yeah. Here we go. Make sure there's nothing untoward on the screen.
Nothing untoward on the screen. Just a still of her face from a corn video. And then the first photo is her with her husband and their baby. They had a daughter in 2022. And that was already well known. But in a recent interview, she talked about as well how they have adopted or taken a couple of Ukrainian children into foster care as well, who are 6 and 12 years old, children whose parents unfortunately died in the war zone in Ukraine. And, you know, it's hard to say, like, this is a bad thing. I think there are definitely better homes they could have been adopted into than the home of a world-famous corn star, though, you know? There's something to be said for that they maybe deserved better than that.
I'm sure the kids are like, given what the other options were, I'll take what I can get.
And one response to this viral tweet said, "People are shocked about Riley Reid, not because she's married. Porn stars often do get married, and quite often to other porn stars, but because people want her to suffer for her immorality." So the discourse is that Riley Reid doesn't deserve to be happy or start a family or find love because of her past and present behavior.
Do you think that this is one of those things? So we've talked about this before. Remember when we had on Mostly Peaceful Latinas, and they talked about how there's the myth that the girl who gets around in her 20s is going to end up sad and alone, and that usually isn't the case, and that it's a cope to think that it is. They think that guys are going to roundly reject them, but usually that's not what happens. They settle down and they end up having a family. And that kind of upsets a lot of people's ideas because they don't believe that that's the right outcome. They believe that they should not be allowed to succeed or get their happy ending because their behavior didn't end up costing them what that person thinks it should have cost them. Do you think that that's a similar situation here?
Yeah, when we had them on the show, they were saying, and they're not the only people who say this.
No, that's just the situation.
They say hoes always win. Yeah. That's what they were saying. It's like their slogan. They were saying hoes always win at life, and they get what they want.
There's too many simps in the world. I saw somebody say there's too many simps in the world. Yeah, there are too many simps in the world to believe that they don't win in the end.
It just depends on your definition of win, though, because I remember I pointed out Alex Cooper getting married after making her whole career off of telling graphic stories about her hoe phases and encouraging other women to do the same thing. And some people said, see, this is proof that hoes always win. But I think it's actually more truthful to point out that she could have been happier had she not engaged in casual sex all those years. And that much is obvious from her having a lifelong medical condition. She was talking about how she was diagnosed with an incurable STD, and her now husband was supporting her through that process.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. And I also think that she's still had a terrible influence on the younger women who've listened to her podcast all these years and had that kind of lifestyle glamorized and encouraged for them, when it might not turn out the same way. Alex Cooper is exceptional in a lot of ways because she's famous and rich and attractive, and she had access to a different social circle than most women could ever dream of. Yeah. And that's probably why she ended up with her now husband in the first place. But sometimes hoes like settle down and they have a life that looks more normal and traditional than you would expect. And some people take offense to that, and they think that it's a cosmic injustice.
That would have been a good phrase for it, right?
This one person said, I think it's bad to reward a decade of extremely bad decisions with a happy ending, barring total disavowing and repentance, which she apparently has not undertaken, considering she is still making money as a pornographer. And that I agree with. I don't think she should be praised for starting a family and getting married, because anyone can do that. And she's still currently making porn content and promoting herself as such. Even if you look at her Twitter now, her Twitter bio says, your dad's favorite search result. And then she links to her OnlyFans as well, where she's currently still selling adult content. She posts daily, and this is something she does as a married woman. Obviously her husband has no self-respect. That goes without saying. But it also goes without saying that there are a lot of guys out there these days who will at least pretend not to care.
Yeah, I think you're right about the cosmic injustice part, is that a lot of people harp on the idea of, like, probably because the internet exists so heavily in the theoretical and how we want things to go and how we think things should go, that the truth of the matter is very rarely how it's pitched to you online, no matter how well phrased that outcome might be, which is how it's sold to you. Like, don't look at these women as women. Look at them as their behavior is going to lead to this horrible outcome for them. And it's just, I feel like in reality that isn't usually how it ends up.
Well, and the reason it's making the news is because her story turned out well.
Yeah. So
stories that didn't.
And the one I'm talking about are different than the ones who are like doing it as a profession, right? There's still, I mean, I think our highest viewed video, or one of our highest viewed videos ever on this channel, was a video about an uptick in the death. I mean, there's a high mortality rate for adult performers anyways.
And former adult performers,
of any point in time. But there was this rash where over the period of a month, like 4 or 5 died or went into a coma.
Yeah.
And it was a lot.
A lot of it is drug related, a lot of suicides. These are people who are mentally tortured by what they've experienced, even though it was what they technically chose to do for a living. That doesn't in any way mitigate the consequences it has on you spiritually, emotionally. And I think people are wrong to look at Riley Reid's outcome in life and say that this means she's winning. You don't know what's really going on. And I just am going to say objectively, a household in which the wife is selling her body online to strangers, that's not a happy household. That's not an intact family unit. That's not a happy marriage.
Yeah.
There's no way that is possible. It's not something that people should look to as aspirational or Riley Reid winning at life. She's losing at life. She's losing out on having a good life by choice. And it's a little ridiculous for people to claim that, she's turned out okay, all things considered. That's
people have
clearly detached from reality.
I think people have an abject fascination with these types of stories because they live a life so far outside the norm that there's and these news outlets like Lad Bible love to cover stories like this because it ends up kind of being the core of like those types of human interest stories. It goes right in line with the stories about like, it's the type of propaganda they sell where it's like, this woman quit her job at her 9 to 5 and joined OnlyFans. Now she's making $8 gazillion a month.
Yeah.
And they love those stories. One, because people click on them because they're interesting to read. And two, depending on who's in charge over there, it contributes to a, increasingly degenerate culture.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's also the objections I'm seeing to Riley Reid, like looking happy or having a family or being married. They're not really coming from the same perspective I would have as a Christian, because we know that people often, maybe more often than not, are rewarded for bad behavior, for immoral behavior in their earthly lives. That's actually the point, is like, doing the right thing that will be difficult and will continue to be difficult and not reward you in a worldly way that anyone else considers, and that you're actually you're living a righteous life for an eternal reward, not an earthly reward. So doing the right thing to get a preferred outcome is not really part of the Christian worldview.
And Book of Job's about it. Like,
like, and doing the wrong thing most of the time actually isn't going to leave someone destitute. Like, you're gonna see a lot of people, quote unquote, winning at life for doing the wrong things. That's just the way things work. But people want to see justice meted out on the people who are living the wrong way. And
they want to see it happen now. They don't want to see, because they can't ever confirm whether it happened to them in the afterlife. So they need to know that they are suffering for their actions now.
Yeah, but also I honestly feel like if Riley Reid put her porn career behind her completely, if she somehow got videos taken down and openly talked about how this was a mistake and it was wrong, and she somehow like converted to Christianity or what have you, she still wouldn't be accepted for that.
No, they would
still say the same things.
Give all your money back. Like, what's her name?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Either give all your money back or you don't mean it.
But then it still wouldn't be good enough.
Exactly.
Because even if, for instance, Nala, the OnlyFans star who converted to Christianity, even if she gave away all the money, right, then it still wouldn't be good enough, because they would say, no, you should be alone forever. Yeah. Like,
there is no benefit in the age of the internet. There's no benefit in trying to act in a way. I mean, there's no worldly benefit to doing those things, because you'll never be accepted once you've made those choices. There may be a benefit in the next life, or whatever, so, but like, there's not going to be a benefit for them now.
And something that's also missed is like most men want an outlet to express their rage of what porn's done to men. And since the people that run these porn sites and their directors and stuff are basically anonymous, whenever there's finally someone that could be used as a punching bag, they're like, let's go all in. I think that's a big part of what's happening, because the men don't have face that they can blame, like you do with most things. So
yeah, we don't talk about the people who run OnlyFans and what their lives look like.
The guy that ran, I forget which website it was, but they had to like send a reporter, and he camped outside of his house for 3 weeks until he got a picture and confirmed that was the guy. Like these guys live in basically like OPSEC lockdown because they know how many people would try to.
Obscurity that the OnlyFans models could never dream of having.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
After
we don't
putting
know who
that
any
behind
of these people
them.
are, and they're probably billionaires.
Yep, definitely.
All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, I don't know about descended from grapists, but I know that I'm descended from hired mercenaries that were hired by the Normans to overtake England.
So true. I'm anti-Norman.
I mean, I know for a fact like that we're all descended from some grapists. Like that's just mathematically impossible for that not to be true. But it's not something that needs to be depicted in the Star Wars universe.
Like they're like, look, there's a galaxy of stories to tell. Maybe we'll do this one in like 250 years.
Let's not. Let's have some hits before we take any chances. Greg Duvier said, I used to think Star Wars was for kids. I made friends that were 4 to 5 years older than me. They loved Star Wars. Sweet, I am not too old for Star Wars.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with liking stuff that's for kids. Like Cars is my favorite movie of all time. But I don't want a grape scene in Cars. That would that'd be horrible.
Cars graping each other? I don't want that.
Yeah.
It's like one exhaust pipe.
No.
It was a shady gas
No.
I hate
that. He goes over, he's like, what's under the hood?
No.
He does this.
I hate everything.
Oh no.
Pop Culture Junkie said Lucasfilm siloing audiences. You're 100% right. Yeah, they want to make one show for this audience and then a different show for that audience, and then it turns out like no one likes any of it. You're still laughing about Cars.
Give me your muffler.
Come on.
Let me detail that. Open the trunk.
No.
Never mind. I've changed my mind. I want the adult Cars movie.
Can I just say,
with motorcycle games.
Yeah.
I had a crush on one of the Cars. Hear me out.
That was your Hear You Out?
It was Sally. 100%.
Hear me out. Well, my other Hear Me Out was who was that?
Guido.
Who was that hot fish in Finding Nemo? Do you remember the hot fish in Finding Nemo? He had like a scar on his face.
I've been seeing like Hear Me Outs that are just normal looking people now.
Then my Cars Hear Me Out was Doc.
Yeah.
I think his name was Doc.
Doc Hudson?
Yeah, Doc Hudson.
Well, then the Bill Belichick story should be
He
really
was
relatable.
my Hear Me Out.
He was like a 70-year-old car.
That's not true.
Doc Hudson, dude, he was the Hudson Hornet in like the 50s. And the movie was set in like 2000.
Okay,
Bro,
it's been a while since I've watched it.
You gotta go to the vintage shop to take care of him. Like, no, but the Hear Me Outs are getting out of control. It's just like a perfectly normal looking person.
Yeah,
it's like, hear me out, and then it's just
then
like,
who?
I have to.
Because it's supposed to be like anthropomorphic characters,
Yeah.
not people.
Right.
The ones that I saw recently was just like normal looking people in their 40s.
Oh, my other one was the apple from Apple Jacks. Before the redesign.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so you're rocking a Cinnamon?
No.
Not the.
I wasn't into
the
Cinnamon.
crackhead honeycomb character that jumped through walls like the Kool-Aid Man.
Is that your Hear Me Out?
No.
Mine is the Cinnamon Toast Square from Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's my Hear Me Out.
Okay.
Well, the girl one, right?
I don't know what gender they are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a weird.
He's very open.
Yeah,
let's do
I
one.
just love the cereal. I don't know.
You're Cinnamon Crunch curious. DCNC said, haven't seen new Andor yet, but first episode of first season, Andor is looking for his estranged sister at a strip club / brothel or something. Hard-boiled detective noir, accidentally Star Wars.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Let's hold off on the rest. Let's go through this viral debate.
Yes. So there was a viral before and after gym transformation that made the rounds on X and got, at this point, like 85 million views because there was a poll for what men and women thought of the before and after images. Most of the men in the poll said the after photo is more attractive, and most of the women said the before photo is more attractive.
So here's a side-by-side. I don't have the 85 million version you have, but it's this one.
That's the before and after
and
right
the
there.
meme before
Just click on this and show us the full view, okay? So first of all, one of the problems is that in the after photo, he's wearing tiny undies, which they look gay. Yeah. And in the first photo, he's just wearing like normal shorts. Yep. Then in the after photo, he's doing like this weird pose. He's like
the double point.
Yeah, the pointing in the air. Like that's kind of lame.
What? The double? You don't know the double point's cool.
Yeah.
This is the divide. I think the double point's cool.
And then you can also tell that in the before photo, he's already someone who's in good shape.
Right.
You can already tell that he's muscular and that he just has a higher body fat percentage.
So
really
the trope
all that
would be
happens,
like he works out, but he eats whatever he wants.
Yeah, but
and in the second photo, he started diet appropriate.
The only difference between the before and after is that he went into a calorie deficit for 12 weeks. Like he had basically the same muscle mass in both photos.
This is the meme though. Gym expectations once you start working out.
Yeah.
So true.
You expect all the women to go crazy, but really the bros are like, big man!
Well, that's when I saw this story. It felt like a massive containment breach because I thought the looks mixing was just the fellas. And I was like, the ladies know about this? All right, shut it down. Shut it down.
Close it off.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And the viral tweet that I saw said, "Why are women lying about this?
So
what's the actual cause?"
So this happens anytime Alan Richardson comes up in the news too, because whenever Reacher comes up, whenever they make an episode of Reacher, he has to be shirtless in at least 5 scenes, maybe more. And the dudes will be like, "Women want this," and the women are like, "We don't want this," and they go back and forth and they argue. I'm assuming the men are thinking like the women are either A, lying, or B, they don't know what they want.
Well, I don't know what their incentive would be to lie in an anonymous poll. Like no one is gonna know.
We do live in a world now where it's like I don't remember what I was watching the other day, if it was like a clip from whatever, where like this woman says to this guy like, "You've got a nice dad bod," and he was like jacked.
Yeah.
Like
okay, no one. I feel like even the term dad bod got hijacked by fat people.
Well, it's because there's a huge fatherless problem. So they don't know what a dad bod is.
Maybe that's
I think
it.
No, but the thing is, this guy was in really, really good shape, but he just wasn't like he wasn't freaking dried out, like Wolverine in the new Deadpool and Wolverine. He wasn't in a total calorie deficit. So, and this one's like, "Oh yeah, you've got a nice dad bod." Meanwhile, like 90% of people or 95% of people will never look like that.
But that's my point is that dad bod originally referred to a guy who has like good like muscle mass, but also a higher body fat percentage than the after photo here. That's all that dad bod meant. But then it got hijacked to mean that you have a gigantic beer belly and don't work out at all.
Right.
And that's never what dad bod was supposed to mean. I just think it's ridiculous to say that like women are lying in an anonymous poll where no one is going to know what their answer is. Like, of course,
I don't know if they're talking about the poll or if they're talking about in general people that comment on it and say that, no, I prefer the first one.
So, okay, what do you guys think? Does he look better in the before or the after to you subjectively?
I mean, are we talking about like he objectively looks better in the second photo, but women are going to judge it on different criteria than men?
I don't think that's objective.
So
you would say your opinion is that he looks better.
He's in better shape in the second photo.
I would disagree with that. I don't think that's.
I just
don't think
the
that's
approach
objective.
women do with makeup, or like this isn't for you. Like with the gym stuff, it's like, ladies, this isn't for you. This is for the fellas.
It's not. Yeah, I think that's why women find it unattractive.
And then the argument, I guess, like,
because you're like preening yourself for other men.
I do understand the argument. I do understand the argument that, like, look, like psychologically, you're going to look at the dude in the second photo. And it's like he's going to care more about what he looks like than he is about me. Like he's going to be more focused on his gym routine than our relationship.
That's why with the old
like
statues,
evolutionarily, like I see that argument.
And that's what the old statues where the men are just completely cut. That was other men designing the statues. Like men have always been this way. Like this isn't a new thing.
Well, then in your opinion, do you think he looks better in the before or after?
He looks way better in the after, but I understand that the appeal, broadly speaking, is probably with like it's just. I'm seeing this. I'm like, yeah, this is how we've always been. I think it's
because like women are looking at it from like the perspective of visual appeal. Guys look at it and like look at the amount of work that went into accomplishing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that that is objectively a lot of hard work, self-restraint, and discipline. Therefore, that correlates to something good.
Okay.
In most senses. Now, I do understand the argument women make for preferring the first photo because depending on what you're looking for in a mate, how somebody dresses, what they focus on signals their beliefs and their values. So if it's guys talking about women, a woman who posts excessive selfies and dressing revealingly in those selfies, it signals a certain level of self-obsession and a certain level of need for validation from other people. So you're not judging them based on their appearance. You're judging them based on what you think that appearance says about who they are, even if it's not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I see the after photo, I see someone who works out at a gym. In the first photo, it looks like someone who works out by like doing manual labor. Like it signals different values.
The manual labor guys have beer bellies 9 times out of 10, and they're probably stronger than this guy.
Well, there's that too.
Because they drink a lot.
This looks to me like a dude who works out but just doesn't restrict what he eats.
Yeah, that's
he eats. He goes to the sports bar on Friday night. He has beers, but he also works out several days a week.
Like, let me put it this way: like 90% of men would swap for that physique in a heartbeat.
Over the after photo?
No, just in general. Like that in and of itself is already like, oh, wow, this guy works out.
Okay, do you think most men would want to look like the after photo or the before?
The after, for sure.
Okay.
We all sit around and drink.
But they wouldn't say no to the first one either.
No, the first one's like, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys think that the women who say that the after photo is unattractive are lying?
No.
No?
I can totally see why having a bit more like filled out would be more attractive.
Yeah.
Evolutionarily, and then also just with current tastes. It makes sense.
I also think that's a question of demographics. I think there's absolutely a portion of women that would choose the second one, but they wouldn't lie about it either. They'd be like, no, I prefer that one.
Yeah. I mean, so some people were saying like women lie about this because like they're fat, so they would feel threatened by being with a guy who's not fat.
Well, no, like
which is ridiculous because in the first photo he is not fat at all. And like myself included, I'm not fat, and I also like wouldn't want to be with a guy who's like skinny like that. Like that's weird. It's just kind of uncanny valley.
I mean, I don't see that dude as skinny. He's just cut. He's not. Like,
what I mean by that is
when I think of skinny,
what I mean by that is that he has no
like,
fat. Yeah. That's what I mean by that.
Like they get in an argument. He's like, yeah, well, who has less body fat? Whose body fat percentage is lower, huh?
That would work.
And then here were some of the comments. The aesthetics of a man who poses gives them the ick. But if both were shirtless at a beach, they'd probably prefer the after photo.
I like this one here personally. I'm old enough to remember when women were creaming their pants over this photo, and it's Luigi Mangione.
Well, okay, all of the women who had a crush on Luigi were insane to begin with, so we don't need to listen to their opinions. And not to mention the fact that women's brains have been altered chemically to prefer less masculine men because of hormonal birth control, so let's factor that in as well. But personally, I can say I don't have any ulterior motives in finding the before photo preferable.
He's got the Walton Goggins hairline.
I think that might be an issue for him. He doesn't need to work on his body. He needs to get hair transplants. This was a response from one of the women. He looks better in the before. Women are correct on this one. Guys obsess over these supremely tight-toned muscles, and they shouldn't.
Well, this is just a semantics argument. What looks better and what looks more attractive. So it's like I think if anyone's honest, what looks better is the second. If you're coming from like a bodybuilding,
men actually have this same argument where there's a subset of men who say that if you like women that are muscular, that you're gay.
Okay.
That's the thing.
That's
People
the thing.
say that.
That's the thing.
All right. Well, one argument I've seen to that point is that it's considered safe horny. This is a term. It's safe horny to be attracted to women who have more masculine traits these days. Because it's seen as incorrect or offensive or whatever to be attracted to women who are more petite or more feminine stereotypically.
Right.
Because that's seen as like...
That's a thing, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know why that would be the case, but they're saying it's more an acceptable form of masculinity to be attracted to a masculine woman.
Weird. Okay. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel.
Which I believe. I believe that is at least one factor in it. Especially with like all this weird Oedipal energy among Zoomers, like calling their girlfriends mommy and stuff.
But there's also the yearbook.
Yeah, women on the whole are lamenting the lack of masculine and traditionally handsome men in society today. And specifically, this one woman posted photos from Harvard's 1955 yearbook showing young men who I assume are, in their early 20s at the time, who look not only more conventionally attractive, but also more grown up for their age than most 20-year-olds do these days.
I can see the coded stereotype of every single one of these dudes in a 90s movie in this photo with these supposedly like more conventionally, like this dude right here is a dweeb. This dude is third to the best friend. This dude just no. Like none of these is like maybe in those first photos, but all of these other people are just as coded to dorky stereotypes as anybody.
It's 100% true though that people are aging slower. And like, there's a guy, Lindy Man, he talks about it on Twitter all the time. The main reason he suspects this is happening is because you drink a lot more water. Like he talks about people in the he's talking like if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, like think of how many times you drank water. It's like maybe once at the water fountain, maybe you took a swig in the morning. Now people are pounding water nonstop
all day.
And that's I agree with he kind of walked through.
Well, that's one theory, but there are like tons of different reasons why testosterone has plummeted by terrifying degrees since 1955.
Even women are aging slower.
The other thing they're not pointing out here is that these dudes, like 2 years after that, they all looked 80.
She points out there are no women in the yearbook, and the facial physiognomy is drastically different to the point where 60% of the men I'm looking at are attractive, and today I find 10% of men attractive.
I bet you
WTF happened.
I bet you if you put these photos in color and were found a way to use AI to make them look digital, she'd find them ugly.
She wondered if maybe it's the absence of hair on the face. In 1955, under 20% had facial hair. And in 2025, 33% of men have facial hair.
I feel like a rebel when I shave. Like, everyone has a beard now.
Or a mustache. There's a lot of that.
My gosh.
I'm sorry, but look at this dude right here. This dude right here ended up starting a tech company.
But there's a good example is if you look at how, because let's just take people at their peak physical performance. If you look at athletes, like if you go and look at like an NBA roster in the 1970s and then you compare it to an NBA roster now, it is night and day. Like the guys in the 70s, they're balding, their skin's wrinkly, they look like they're in their 40s, and they'd be like 25. Like it's 100% true that
even
people are aging slower.
You see videos from high schools in even the 90s, as recently as the 90s, where it's not just the clothing they're wearing. It's not just the haircuts. It's not the fashion of the day. These teenagers legitimately look more mature. They look older than teenagers do today. Yeah. And I think the same would go for young people in their early 20s. They just seem to have an actually different bone structure. And
is it that they're wearing suits? People in the chat are saying it's because they're wearing suits.
No.
Is it because they're wearing suits?
If
that's
people
part
wear
of
suits
it.
now my age and it looks off.
It's part of it though. Like they did dress better. They did like have better haircuts. And there's also like the fact that these are black and white photos that are are flattering no matter who you are.
Yeah, because there's no detail to them because it's a screen, it's a Xerox copy of a photo that was shrunk down to fit in a yearbook.
Well, and that's why I brought up like comparing the roster pictures, because it's the exact same. There's no other factors involved. They're literally wearing the same uniform. It's the same context. The photos are relatively the same quality, and you will see that the men in the 70s and 80s looked far older, or I should say we looked far younger than they looked.
Some of this EVP say that it's down to lifestyle, less movement, more stress, worse food.
Yeah.
The biggest culprit could be endocrine disruptors, finding them in plastics, cosmetics, tap water, fast food wrappers, medicine, detergent, vinyl flooring. These chemicals interfere with the body's hormone production and reception. Our poor eating habits and constant exposure to processed chemical-laden foods may also be affecting the way men look today. In 1955, men weren't glued to screens or living off of ultra-processed meals full of seed oils. They were lean by default. Now, more than 40% of American men are classified as morbidly obese. And even among those who aren't, a sedentary lifestyle and poor nutrition have shifted the average male body into something softer and less defined. Excess fat, inflammation, and improper breathing and poor posture play a role. Things that can subtly distort the facial structure and blur symmetry we used to see, paired with declining testosterone, facial hair trends, and a noticeable drop in masculinity, it's not hard to see how we got here. But I guess some men hope that they can make up the difference by going hard at the gym, and it's just not really hitting the same. Like, I think it's a lot of guys who are mad that they can't put in work to be more desirable.
What do you mean?
Like, it's a comforting thought that if you put enough work in, then you can be attractive to most women. But that's actually not true. Because there are so many other intangible factors to being attractive to women other than things you can work for and get viable results in a timeline.
In a physical sense, or like, do you mean just like physically?
Yeah, I think that a lot of men like find it comforting to think that they can just physically change themselves with a process that is 12 weeks long or whatever and be attractive to the majority of women, but that's not a simple solution.
Well, that's why like the self-improvement stuff's starting to sputter out, because the primary driver was like, this will make you more attractive to women. People realized that was wrong. You should still do these things because these are good for you.
Yeah.
But don't do it if you're trying to attract a partner, because like it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's coming at it from the wrong intention.
Go to places with really high birth rates. You're not going to see any of the self-improvement stuff going on. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, self-improvement is like truly becoming an idol for people these days.
If anything, like the most attractive people I know are the ones that are single, and then the people that, you know, are a little rough around the edges, they always have a wife when they're like 19. Like, it's 100% true. So it's like, no, it's way deeper than that.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's finish up our super chats here. The Last of My Kind said, Star Wars for kids. Those of us that paid attention knew about how tariffs and trade regulations worked since episode 1.
Think about that.
Yeah, but the thing is like there's a difference between that being a theme and somebody like outright talking about it 24/7 and making the language about that.
It's less of a loaded political issue than undocumented migrants getting rounded up by the Imperial forces.
Kids in cages? I was just reading about how this thing where Michelle Obama was like, the deportations keep me up at night. I'm like, can you imagine being gullible enough to believe that any politician or politician adjacent is kept up at night because of the plight of anyone?
She actually said that?
It was something. I tweeted about it.
I wonder
yesterday.
if the deportations kept her up at night when they were at the highest rates ever during her husband's administration.
What's funny about that is I was reading about how like the reason his number is so high was because they reclassified turnaways, meaning people who showed up at the border, and then they were like, no, you can't come in, and they classified those as deportations. So it was like
during Obama or
during the Obama administration. So it would have been like 3 million, but then once they started classifying turnaways as deportations, suddenly it skyrockets to 5 million. Because people show up, they're like, can I come in, please? And they're like, no.
What year was that?
That's through the length of his administration. So 08 to...
Oh, it was changed in 08.
At some point.
Yeah,
in
at
his,
some
like,
point
second
during his
term,
administration, they
first or
started
second term.
classifying people getting turned away at the border as deportations.
Interesting. The Last of My Kind, or sorry, Shane H. Wilder said, if that isn't in the next Crisis Party, we revolt.
Oh,
Well,
he's
you
talking
better-
about the
What would
rapper,
be?
the
You better
cringe
start
rapper.
revolting then.
Oh.
No, the song from the Cringe of the Day.
We're not doing that, Shane.
What?
No.
Shane, I'm with you, dude. I'll put
We're
for
not
it.
platforming
I'll lobby
Caleb
for
from
it.
TikTok. Adam said the cringes will write your gongo anthem.
Is that a band? The Cringes? That's a great
Cringes.
band name.
Do we have a gongo anthem yet? Is that a thing?
Sounds like something from 21 Pilots or.
It's gonna be coworker music.
Okay, that is my new favorite term that I start like
It's
anytime.
So accurate.
You go look at somebody who's like a musician who's Instagram famous, and all the comments are like coworker
It's
music.
just every AGR song ever made.
No, they said Benson Boone is like Harry Styles for people who weren't allowed to watch SpongeBob as a kid.
That's pretty
And I
good,
was like,
too.
wait.
But Harry Styles is also firmly in coworker music.
He is.
And I like some coworker music. It's not a bad thing.
Like what?
necessarily. I just said that. I don't actually say. I don't believe that.
Do you like Imagine Dragons?
No.
That's coworker
No,
music.
like if I think long, I mean Nickelback probably counts as coworker.
No,
music.
no, no. When I think
Ah.
of coworker music, it's like rap artists who you haven't heard of, but the reason you haven't heard of them is because they're bad.
And they put him in a Katy Perry song. Oh, that's good.
No, like this is like no, these are
What,
like
like DaBaby?
who?
Or
No,
like-
no. Who's the one that I always? It's this dude who's from like the South, and it's just really cringy, and like all the comments are like coworker music. And I'll give the dude his credit. He's got a huge following. I don't remember his name, but
Okay, I'm gonna say Sabrina Carpenter is coworker music at this
It's just
point.
if you could hear it and playing in the background at Target, it's coworker music.
I
Yeah.
don't think of that as coworker music. Like, I get maybe I have a different idea of what when I think of coworker music, it's when you have a coworker who's like you got to hear this, like, and it's somebody you've never. And they're like they think the fact that you've never heard of them is enough of a reason to listen to them, but the reason you haven't heard of them is because their music sucks balls.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's coworker.
Because there's
music.
coworker music that didn't chart. People are conflating pop and coworker music. There's two separate categories.
Just-
It overlaps. but-
I am not
Brett.
talking about Paul Wall. There will be no Paul Wall slander on this
Brett,
podcast.
just promise me you're gonna play a lot of Justin Bieber music at your wedding.
No. Okay. Oh, by the way, Olivia responded.
Do we
to
have
you.
approval on
She
company?
she says, tell Mary if she dances, we will play it.
I was already planning to dance.
Then we will play Company by Justin Bieber.
Although at the last wedding I attended, I did not dance because it was all line dances.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
all
that's
like
great.
Cotton Eye Joe, and like I
Yeah.
was just like, I can't
I
vibe
love some
with
choreography.
this.
It builds like bonding with your wedding party.
It's
Like,
There was
guys,
one
let's all
guy-
go back to the
it's like-
buffet.
it's
There was
like,
a guy who unbuttoned his shirt and was drenched in sweat.
That's
with his,
me.
And his eyes were closed. He was like on another planet.
That's me. I tied the tie around my head, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that he was getting into it, but I just wasn't.
My
able
last
to.
wedding, I had like a whoop band, and you're on your average day, your strain's like 11 maybe, and I left it was a 20, it was max. Like I was going crazy. My heart was like beating out of my chest.
Shane H. Wilder said all Beyonce in the flying car shows is that women can't drive. She just hit a curb and went flying.
So true.
Yeah.
She I wonder if it has the sticker on the back that says like the curb hit me.
If her car had like curb rash on the
Yeah.
wheels, it'd be perfect.
The hubcaps are all scraped.
You know, I actually don't hit curbs. I'm a
That's
pretty
cap.
I'm a pretty bad driver, but I don't hit curbs.
I don't believe this.
It's true. Greg Duvier said, I saw Disturbed a month ago on a Thursday night, and it looked like it was at least 90% sold. I'm hoping more people are listening to rock. Maybe you mean instead of pop.
Great band, All
Maybe.
That Remains. Everyone should listen. I've been bumping nonstop.
Yeah.
Friend of the show.
It's just an issue that like there aren't any new artists that are going to be able to like sell out arenas.
What about Benson Boone?
Is he even like...
You know what explains
That
Benson Boone? When you
popular?
find out this one trait about him, everything makes sense. He's Mormon.
Oh, yeah. I
Then you're
learned
like,
that, and I was like, yup.
Oh,
Yup.
okay.
Is that true?
Yeah.
He's Mormon.
Yeah. Then you're
Mhm.
like, that makes sense.
Okay.
No hate on
I-
Mormons, but
I mean, I hate Mormonism.
I hate Mormonism. I hate the sinner, not
Yeah.
the sin.
Yeah. No Control said, say Scary Mary in the mirror 3 times and she'll appear and steal your car.
Is that true?
Is this
It's
true?
real.
Can we fact check that?
It's real. You got to do it after the show today. See what happens. Yurishima Otaru said, Brett, supergroups had musicians come together.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Isn't that what you said?
All I asked was like, have there been like all female supergroups? That was my question. I know supergroups exist.
Sorenko Productions sent a Katy Perry lyric. You're like an Indian summer in the middle of a winter, like a hard candy with that surprise center. I don't know why this Katy Perry song is trending now, LOL. Yeah, I've noticed that too. She needs to go back to her roots. Those songs were great. She's a great singer.
Just play Hot and Cold and call it a day.
That was on the same album.
It's like, what are we doing?
Play Hot and Cold.
Thinking of You is an underrated bop. Shane H. Wilder said Puss in Boots is a female supergroup led by Norah Jones. Also, getting smacked with a toaster is a way of saying I feel like crap.
So
I didn't know about that euphemism.
So like women worry about men objectifying them, and then they come up with their own supergroup name called Puss in Boots.
It could be Shrek fans.
Yeah, that seems like a copyright violation if I ever saw one. Pop Culture Junkie said in Scrooged, Bill Murray gets smacked in the face with a toaster by Carol Kane, yells, "The bitch hit me with a toaster." I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Thank you for educating me. Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, whatever you do, don't do what my friend did. He played Cannibal Corpse at his wedding reception. We literally heard, I will always love you, then frantic disembowelment. It got awkward. Yeah, that ruins the vibe of the party pretty quick.
Yeah.
Frantic.
Maybe I'll play at least one, we'll play at least one Kanye AI song at the wedding.
Yeah, which one?
She won't let me play the Cartman AI songs, I'm sure.
but which one?
No.
Love Story, the Love Story AI Kanye cover.
Goes pretty hard. No, I want to do...
Are you going to play Taylor Swift? She's a huge Swiftie, so like,
there will be Taylor Swift played at the wedding.
The question is how much?
I mean, it's... I gotta keep all this under wraps. Like,
okay.
Can't be letting all this information out right now.
Okay. I won't ask any more questions.
But if I did, it would be the Call Me Maybe Kanye AI cover.
Ooh,
goes
yeah.
hard.
Tasteful.
I'm excited. We have a 20 from The Last of My Kind. Chicks will go home with the guy on the right. Also, he looks taller on the left, so that's probably why chicks dig the left. Culturally, chicks think shredded equals unavailable emotionally. I mean, that's not a bad rule of thumb because he's obsessed with himself, so why would he care about anyone else? But, yeah, that is weird. Why did he look taller in the first photo? Just like an optical illusion or something?
I mean, focal length of the camera.
Yeah.
Squatting that compresses your spine.
Okay. DCNC said, Applejack, marry a brony exposed? What?
Is this true?
I wasn't talking about the My Little Pony. I meant the apple from the cereal box. And they also redesigned Cinnamon to not be Cinnamon anymore because it's offensive to be Rastafarian.
Right.
They redesigned both of them, and now they just look stupid. They look like babies. They're not like Apple. The Apple guy isn't manly anymore.
What is he now?
He used to look like a hardened criminal.
Okay.
Like, I can put up with the Biden administration, but when they start touching the cereal commercials, I fly off the handle.
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things.
It's terrible.
Ulvin McGoth said, "Hear me out, the xenomorph alien."
Yeah, I'll
the new one.
Listening.
Or the new Predator, from Predator into the Badlands.
I'm listening.
Or the
I'll hear you out.
We're listening. Case. Bookstore Thor said most guys who get shredded look gaunt with clothes on.
There is like such a thing as like bodybuilders, like they get too big to look good in suits.
I hadn't thought about that.
That's another thing, is the tailoring has changed a lot since the 50s. That would be a 2-hour episode, but
yeah.
Also, Alan Richardson is like 3 times the size of the guy in the after photo, so he's not even really a relevant example.
Yeah.
He wouldn't look gaunt in clothes. He would just look like I don't know. You can't really even buy like clothes for normal people when you look like that. You have to like have them bespoke for you.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a pain in the ass.
Fit of shirt is very important. So
yeah. Omega Red fan said, "It's never all a lie. It's always more complicated than that." Michael Weston, Burn Notice. Did he say that? I don't remember him saying that.
Repeat the line again.
It's never all a lie. It's always more complicated than that.
Yeah. Would that have been in the like later seasons?
Who was the chick?
Fiona.
Fiona, was that his love interest or were they just friends?
No, that was his. So she was his like girlfriend before that because he met her undercover working the IRA. So, talk about dating your show. Like he was undercover with like her in the IRA.
That's crazy.
Like
work.
imagine the IRA mattering. Like
wait, but I thought she just looked Californian.
No, that actress is British.
I saw
British
photos of
playing
her.
Irish.
I thought that she got a tummy tuck and didn't have a belly button anymore.
She's just really, really skinny. Like I don't know.
There was no belly button to be found.
Yeah.
It would be nice not to have a belly button.
I think Gabrielle. Her name's Gabrielle Anwar. I believe she's from Britain.
Shane H. Wilder said, a lot of the reason each generation is looking younger at the same age is life getting easier and are wanting for less and less.
Yeah, but people are more stressed than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so
but they're not being put under physical stress.
When people say life is easier, do you mean physically easier? Then sure, but now it's like, welcome to the world. You're gonna go to college. You're gonna get $100 grand in debt. You're never gonna pay it off. You're never gonna own a home. You're gonna be miserable because you're gonna be on antidepressants while the media spews propaganda bullshit about the end of the world, whether it's from climate change or political opposition, and you're being constantly fed bad news.
Well, you can tell it's capped just because of Japan and South Korea. Those are the most stressed people on planet Earth, and they look like they're really young. Like, they don't age.
Yeah, well,
they age rapidly, but
people aren't under physical stress anymore.
Yeah.
So that's probably
but it is proven that like emotional stress can age you as well. And people are stressed out these days. Like, whether it's valid or not, whether it's because people think that Donald Trump is starting the Fourth Reich, or because they think that
climate disaster is
the
incoming.
world is going to end due to climate change. Like, I would actually argue that back in the day, it's kind of like you were in more danger and you faced more adversity, but you did so happily because it wasn't from behind a screen. Like, I would rather face real world struggle than digital hell.
Yeah, I would agree with that take. But then it doesn't make sense. Like, why do people look so young then?
It's the water.
It must be the water.
It's the water. I'll send
People
you the article.
are drinking too much water.
I'll send
I
the
agree.
article. Like, when you read it, you're like, oh, okay.
Brett's drinking too much water.
Yeah, Brett.
It's bad for you.
You should dehydrate yourself.
I don't drink nearly enough water. I try to drink the 2 full glasses at night, and then you get yelled at. And then you get yelled at. You're like, oh, well, why don't you drink 9 glasses before
Does
bed?
Carbonated water count? Because like I drink a lot of this.
That counts as water, but isn't there like something else in it?
Lemon juice.
That's it?
Carbonated water and lemon juice. That's
Wow. Okay.
Is it because we're inside all day? Because jobs are now inside and
the sun does take a toll on you.
Yeah,
it's part of it. Yeah. Urashima Otaru said you were talking about singers like Beyonce and TLC. Yes.
I'm so confused.
We were. We were talking about them, but I don't know why you're pointing it out.
That might be like
Brett,
a court stenographer.
Brett, super groups had musicians come together.
I think maybe they mean like solo artists were in super groups, not artists from groups.
I think they're just reminding us, like, we were talking about that.
I
That was
don't
a good
know.
conversation, yeah.
We remember that.
Yeah.
The Last of My Kind said, oh, I already read that one. Defending Truth. I'm not going to read that either because we would get in trouble with YouTube. So we're skipping that.
Guys, let's get to a third crisis party. Let's go.
Shane H. Wilder said, just because you put syrup on something doesn't make it a pancake. Sean Spencer.
Much wisdom.
Ah, yes.
Very true.
So true.
Adam said, your first celebrity crush. What did he
Sally
say?
from Cars. Already said this.
So, but that's not a celebrity.
Sally's not a celebrity?
Do a real answer, unless you don't have one.
Oh, probably a Scary Spice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because you're a Zoomer.
She was
so
on
that's not
X
really...
Factor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was X Factor.
Then I'll say Posh Spice.
I don't remember which is which.
You don't remember which one was which? I couldn't pick the other two out of the lineup.
Posh Spice is the one married to David Beckham.
Victoria Beckham is posh, but I don't know any of the other ones. Okay, Brett.
I just said
it would
Posh
be
Spice.
your first celebrity crush.
Topanga.
I knew you were gonna say that, but I didn't want to get ahead.
I'm a cliche. I'm a millennial.
I'm trying to think of who was mine. Maybe
she also turned out fairly normal from what I've seen. Danielle Fishel turned out
really,
fairly normal.
Mine might have been like, I don't know if I liked Dylan or Cole Sprouse more.
Oh.
I feel like I had a crush on Dylan Sprouse more than Cole Sprouse.
Forgot about Zach and Cody.
But that was when they were children and I was also a child, so that would be weird if it stayed the same.
Just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Other than that, like, I don't know, maybe Justin Bieber.
It's always solid.
But Sprouse twins first. Shane H. Wilder said, Mary, Scary Spice stands out from the group.
She's the scary one. So if you see one of you get scared, that's her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the absolute the way nothing's changed. We were just girl power back in the year 1999 as well. It was just
it was in an inoffensive
even
way.
More corporate approved girl power.
Yeah.
Girl powered by man.
Yeah.
But it was girl power without the man hate, at least, right?
Correct.
Most of the time.
Correct. Hey, I loved that Spice Girls movie. Spice World was a masterpiece.
Do you recommend?
Yes.
Would I like
yes.
it?
Yes. Oh, yes. You should watch Spice World. The part where they fly the bus over the bridge, and the Elton John cameo, and they save the world from aliens. Are you kidding me?
Sounds great.
Spice World was a truly amazing movie. Everyone should watch it.
Adam said, my first celebrity crush is Embeth Davidst. I don't know if I said that right. From Bicentennial Man.
So that would have been...
I'm unfamiliar.
I don't know.
Shane H. Wilder said, i.e. she was the DEI hire. Scary Spice was DEI?
No, because that wouldn't have been a thing back then. Because back then they would have hired them all on the same level of no merit. Because they were thrown together as a group.
Did they need a token though?
I guess.
But Destiny's Child didn't have a token.
The thing is though, is nobody would have thought that way back in the late 90s or 2000s.
Yeah,
they were
it was
just
also 90s Britain was a very white place.
They had so many different arguably the point was that Sporty Spice was the best actual singer out of all of them, and the rest of them were just kind of hanging on.
Sporty Spice was David Beckham's wife?
No, that was Posh Spice.
That was Posh Spice. Yeah. Okay, connecting the dots.
I don't know what happened to the rest of them. Also, Baby Spice just feels ripe for bad stuff for them. Like, what were they?
Did it have a negative connotation?
Yes. Well, I mean, she's kind of acts like a child while being.
She does?
Right.
I didn't know that was part of her
She's got the lollipop and the pigtails, and she's meanwhile playing, albeit a sexualized person, because she's an adult, and they're adults, and they're marketing them.
I guess I just thought it was a nickname, and that she didn't actually act like a baby.
And if I remember, somebody says Ginger Spice was hot. Ginger Spice was also basically Old Spice, but they couldn't do that because that's already taken, because she was way older than the rest of them.
She was?
Yeah, she was older than the rest of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That reminds me, remember the Brett from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and he was like a grown baby? Remember that? There was Brett, and he wore a diaper.
Wait, yeah.
That just shows you the difference. So when women act like a baby, it's like they become a celebrity. When Brett does it, he's like a laughing stock.
Hate it when that happens.
He's like, I'm still Brett, and he rips his clothes off, and he's in a diaper, and everyone's like, yeah, it's an idiot. I'm like, hey, okay.
Cloudy with
Double
a Chance
standard.
of Meatballs was such a good movie.
I was
just thinking about it the other day, and just when you watch it, you just want to eat all the food in it.
It's like Lockwood.
Giant
Goated.
ice cream scoops.
And the way that dad
falling
loved
from the
his
sky.
kid, that's just that's an inspirational movie. I didn't even know it was a comedy. I thought it was.
Yeah, and a great love story.
Great love story.
Jumping around in a Jello bouncy.
I wanted to eat the spray-on shoes.
Really?
Yeah, the spray-on shoes. I don't know why they just looked like a gummy bear or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was nice.
What about that shoe movie that's coming out?
That was so stupid.
A shoe movie?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there is a new movie coming out.
It might already have come out.
Maybe it already came out. I don't remember what it was called.
It's
Maybe Kicks or something.
Sneakers or.
It was just called Sneakers. It's about sentient sneakers.
So when we're talking about cars with mufflers attacking one another, it's not that far off.
Yeah, and they're not even on brand. They're not even Nike.
Is the mouth between the sole and the top of the shoe?
I already don't remember.
When you split
I
your
think
shoe
so.
open?
I don't remember where their mouths
I need to
were.
watch this. This sounds like
Just
it'd be
think
right up my alley.
some art designer had to be like, so where are we putting their mouths?
I'm the target demographic for that, so I need to watch it.
We saw the trailer for it in the previews of what was that? I guess
It would have been
Snow
first Snow White.
And it was the stupidest thing
Sneaks.
ever. But they kept, they
top.
kept on like harping on the fact the soundtrack is done by DJ Mustard, and like that's the selling point.
Yeah.
Like it was like he was credited like 10 times in the trailer, and there was nobody else of note involved.
What role did the laces play? Were they like the arms or?
Must have been.
I think
I'm
they
just
just
so
kind of. I think they just
captivated
were
by
like
this.
animated sneakers that can just run around like even without someone wearing them.
There's the
Wow, this is brilliant.
Yep,
Maybe
the mouth
they were
Pull up
is.
Heelys.
sneaks.
This
Oh, I'm watching this.
is slop.
Look at the mouth. The mouth is at the toe.
See, this is fantastic.
Absolute slop.
Okay, hang on. Let me watch it first.
Also, the funny part is none of the shoe companies were like co-signed.
They didn't
So
wanna
it's
be part of
They're
this.
like generic ass Converse and
Yeah.
generic
Well, no,
ass
it's
Air Force.
Probably
They were
only one signed
Payless.
up. If one signed up, it'd be even worse. Like they're all like New Balance.
Right?
No, it'd be all Shaq's shoe company that shows up.
They're all
like-
and
is
ones.
that?
I don't know what is Shaq's shoe
His
company?
was, I think it might have been and one.
No, he's got his own shoe company.
Well, they're called Shaq's, yeah, and he made them $5 so that way like people
Kids could
buy
have them. Yeah, at Walmart.
Smart.
Shane
Dude, I
H. Wilder.
and one, like the long and one shorts. It's such a baller move.
Shane H. Wilder said, for some reason you reminded me of the movie Rubber about a sentient car tire that rolls around killing people.
See, we need more sentiment and animate object movies.
Yeah, dude.
Like, that'd be so sick. There's such a world out there.
There's another one there from Alvin McGough.
They actually had food in their mouths doing voice lines for the Cloudy Meatballs movie and threw food around to see how the food should act in the movie when falling.
It's a generational
Somebody's
movie.
just like, I love my
That's
job.
when they still cared.
Who watched it the first time? Like, oh, that's not how spaghetti falls. Let's get the tester in here.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, when I watched that, I think that was the last good animated kids movie. It was Pixar, right?
I don't know who. I
think it was-
It might have been DreamWorks.
I don't remember now, but there was that, and then after that, they jumped the shark, and it was Monsters University.
It was the Dark Ages, yeah.
Monsters University was the beginning of the end for children's movies. At least
Yeah.
Disney, maybe. That
I
was
think
the beginning of
reason
the
I
end for
went to
Disney.
college was because of Monsters University, because I was like, I want that experience.
Really?
Well, yeah, I wanted the hat and the.
But that was the first time when I realized, like, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Like, they just ran out of ideas.
I would need to know what movies came after, but yeah, it did feel like Monsters University was the beginning of the end. I mean,
They
Toy
gave
Story
up.
4 was good.
Toy Story 4?
And
I
that's
don't
kind of
even
a later-
remember.
That's where they're like all holding hands as they go into the
Shaq's shoe
incinerator.
company is called Shaq. So
Let's go.
Yeah, oh, well.
Shaq Footwear.
Keep it
Shaq's so
simple.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Nah, he's making his kids get 2 college degrees that they're never going to use so they can get their inheritance.
Well, we're all caught up
All
on
right.
the super chats.
All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel
Subscribe.
if you are new here and you have not subscribed already. That way you can get your Pwetzels.
I'm checking on our Spotify page at the moment because yesterday I told all of you that you need to go leave us a rating on Spotify or else you're not a real fan. At the time, we had 807 reviews. Not reviews, ratings. Now we're at 830. So it looks like some of you guys actually did listen. If you have not gone to Spotify and given us a rating yet, you need to go do that because I really want us to get over 1,000 ratings. Give us 5 stars if that's the way you feel, or less than that.
No, I'm
Be honest.
asking for you to ignore what you feel and just give us 5 stars anyway.
Or lie. I don't know. Whatever. And you can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
All right. Where can they find you, buddy?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at RealTateBrown, same as Instagram.
Perfect. Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic. On both of those platforms, I will be on IRL tonight, so you can tune in there. That should be interesting. I haven't been on like a weekday that wasn't a Friday in a while, so that'll be interesting. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure it will be very interesting. This show is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you'd like to listen rather than watch. And rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That helps the show, as Mary said. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at popculturecrisis, Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. We got one more there.
Couple more. Shane H. Wilder said Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was Sony Animation.
Okay.
I stand corrected on that. And Pat the Plumber said, high school, my sneakers got wet, so I put them in the oven to dry, and my mom preheated and melted them, so I had to wear the Zach Morris specials. I don't know what that means.
I'm sorry
Zach
about your
Morris
shoes.
specials?
Okay.
Sorry that happened, or congrats. I'm not really sure.
BC in the chat says, shout out to Olivia. Yes, shout out to Olivia. And with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.